أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله حقا لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة دلالة وكل دلالة في النار. Verily all the praise and all the glorification and all the magnification it is due to Allah and Allah alone. And I publicly, I inwardly, and I outwardly attest to the fact that there is no one that deserves to be worshipped except for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then following the Messenger of Allah is the only way, ya ikhwan, for us to, inshallah ta'ala, be amongst those that are guided. We say, ya ikhwan, ya akhwat, that more than 20 years ago, just after I accepted Islam, there was a commercial that was on almost every single night during the NBA playoffs. The commercial was, just be like Mike. Just be like Mike. Shoot the basketball like Mike. Drive to the hoop like Mike. Dunk like Mike. Talking about Michael Jordan. Yeah, wow. And this was something that all the youth at that time, the thing that they wanted to do was to just be like Mike. But as for the Muslims, ya ikhwan, the times that we're living in right now, we say to the Muslims, stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha. Stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha. Stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And I gave this khutbah about 6 years ago in another masjid in Toronto. And many of the adults, not about the children, many of the adults, they came to me after the khutbah and they said, brother, who is this Mustapha? We never heard of this Mustapha before. Who are you talking about? Is he one of the 4 imams? Said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah ya ikhwan. How is it that we don't know the name of the chosen one, Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ya ikhwan? I do not want to be, ya ikhwan, like Bill Gates. I do not want to be like Steve Jobs. I do not want to be like Donald Trump. Just stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha. For the youth, I do not want to be like the Black Mamba, that's Kobe Bryant. I do not want to be like LBJ. I do not want to be like MJ, ya ikhwan. Just stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I do not want to be like Harry Potter. I do not want to be like Spider-Man. I do not want to be like Superman or any other of the great heroes or the great zeros that they put on spending billions of dollars trying to get our children to come and watch the movies. Just stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, our topic being night ta'ala is today that if you've never seen him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then you can read about him in the book and the Sunnah, also in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And many Muslims, they say, I love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But I visited many Muslims' houses, and I find, ya ikhwan, very few of the Muslims have any of the books, very few have any of the books of the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the house. Very few of the Muslims have the seerah of Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the house. So my question is, brothers, how can you love somebody that you don't know anything about because you never spent any time reading about him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And we say to the ummah, wake up, O ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is being ridiculed and mocked in front of our eyes. And as I said to the brothers just last week, that how come the Muslims are not flocking to the Islamic bookstores, buying the seerah of Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, educating our family about that? This is a question, ya ikhwan, that I myself, as a new Muslim, who left Christianity, who came to Islam, the first thing that I had to learn about, ya ikhwan, was who this Messenger of Islam was. And the brother said to me as a new Muslim, if you want to really know the authentic Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then you must get a book called Sahih al-Bukhari. And at the very young age, ya ikhwan, after quitting my job at the liquor store, I bought Sahih Bukhari and I read Sahih Bukhari in less than 6 months. That's 9 volumes. Now, whether I understood it or not, the point, ya ikhwan, is that you have to make some effort to try to know. Because you see, as my neighbors, they come every day and they knock on my door. We are the Christians. We are the Christ-like people. And that sounds very nice, ya ikhwan. But as the Muslims, are we the Muslim? Are we like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Are we walking in his footsteps? This is a question, ya ikhwan, wa ta'ala. He has told the believing men and the believing women, for some people who think that they don't have to follow the Sunnah. And I've heard Muslims say to me after I quote them my hadith, that's only the Sunnah. That's only the Sunnah, it's not fard, it's not wajib, it's only Sunnah. Can you imagine, ya ikhwan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent the Quran with His angel Jibreel down to Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And it was sent down, qarnin ba'da qarn, generation after generation, to the Muslim ummah. And it reaches our time now, where Sahaba and people of knowledge would travel thousands of miles on a donkey to get one hadith. That we have Muslims now, we have the internet and thousands of books available. They say, that's only the Sunnah. It's just the Sunnah. Listen to what Allah Ta'ala wanted to say. What I want to say, after I say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, مَا يُؤْتِي الرَّسُولُ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. He who obeys the messenger has obeyed Allah. He who's obeyed the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And ya ikhwan, as I travel and I meet Muslims from all over the world, they come here to Canada and they tell me how great the Islamic empire is and how great their country is and how great Islam is in their country. And I say, well, mashallah, maybe it was at one time, but why are you here? Are you here for da'wah or you came here for the dunya? And the reality is, ya ikhwan, is for us that are here right now, we can change our intention to be people who call to the Sunnah and call to Islam. But it takes a man and it takes a woman first to understand that there are responsibilities upon us to practice Islam. Ya ikhwan, we have to izalatul jahl, we need to take and remove ignorance from ourselves. We find that Allah Ta'ala again gave us another warning. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمْ خِيرَةٌ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It is not for a believing man or a believing woman, when Allah and His Messenger have decreed a matter, that they should have any option in the decision. And as a Muslim, ya ikhwan, understanding that we came from a religion where our focal point was worshiping Astaghfirullah, Isa ibn Maryam. And now coming to Islam, where we have the last prophet, Muhammad Mustapha sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-Amin, Abu Qasim. And then the Muslims say, listen, this is the prophet of Allah over here. Put him to the side, Astaghfirullah al-Azim. But you have to pick one of the 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 madhabs. Forget the Prophet sallallahu, he's over here, but follow a madhab. Ya ikhwan, I do not need Christianity to come in except for to follow one man. That is the Imam al-Azam, Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm happy following the Prophet sallallahu. And it is sufficient for me to know that he is Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ya ikhwan. He is the leader of the Muslims. The Imams who came and they traveled the path, they all encouraged their students to walk in the footsteps of the Messenger of Sallallahu. Allah Ta'ala, He has also told us, ya ikhwan, that if we want the guidance, if we want to be on the righteous way, then it is indicative for us to follow the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu. Allah Ta'ala wanted to say, وَإِن تُطِيعُوهُ تَهْتَدُوا وَمَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا بَلَاغٌ مُبِينٌ. If you obey Muhammad Sallallahu, you will be on right guidance. The messenger's duty is just to convey a clear word. Follow the Sunnah, my brothers. Follow the Sunnah, my sisters. With the Sunnah is guidance. With the Sunnah is bushra. With the Sunnah is success, ya ikhwan. But many of us sometimes we believe that if we follow Bill Gates, or if we follow Steve Jobs, or if we follow some of the people that are making billions of dollars that will just get it in this dunya, that will be successful. I went to a brother's house one time and he was bragging about how high his chandeliers and how high his ceiling was, and I said, Akhi, subhanallah, will this help you get into the Jannah? I asked him, will this help you get into the Jannah? Well, I'm not impressed with your dunya, ya ikhwan. Because as a Muslim, ya ikhwan, all these things that we have in this dunya compared to 1 foot in the Jannah, ya ikhwan. If we were smart and intelligent, we'd want to live beside the Rasul. Also, we find, ya ikhwan, Allah Ta'ala goes on again with another beautiful ayah explaining to us the importance of following the Sunnah and warning us, ya ikhwan, about what going away. Allah Ta'ala wants to say, يَحْذَرِ الَّذِينَ يُخَالِفُونَ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ أَنْ تُصِيبَهُمْ فِتْنَةٌ أَوْ يُصِيبَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. And let those who oppose the Messenger's commandments, his Sunnah, his legal ways, beware lest some fitna, some trial, some affliction, some earthquakes, some killing, some overpowering by the tyrants, all this is in parentheses, before them, or a painful torment for inflict. Are we not living that, ya ikhwan? Our ummah is divided. Our ummah, ya ikhwan, is in such a situation that every single day on the Facebook, I see the condition of our ummah. And Allah Ta'ala is saying that if we don't follow the Messenger of Allah, the pain and the torment and the afflictions will come upon the ummah. And there's people here in the West, and I think I have my PhD in Kufr and Shirk. I come from a family that's all that the profession is that us as Muslims, we think that because we're living in the West, if we get a secular education, that's somehow going to bring the ummah back to success. No, ya ikhwan. These are just things on the side. Your success is in following the Sunnah of Mustapha sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We find, ya ikhwan, that Abdullah ibn Daylami rahimahullah, he said, بلغني أن أول ذهب الدين ترك السنة يذهب الدين سنة سنة كما يذهب الحبل قوة قوة. This is in Sunnah al-Darimi, where he said, it has reached me that the first departure from the deen is the abandonment of the Sunnah. And the religion goes gradually, Sunnah by Sunnah, just as a rope breaks, strength by strength. So when we look at our situation here, I've traveled and I've come to many masjids for Salatul Fajr. And one of the forgotten sunnahs that I try to practice when I get a chance to, is when you come to the masjid between the Sunnah of Fajr And the Fajr, the Prophet used to lay on his right side. One time my brother came and he kicked me. And he said, didn't you sleep enough? Didn't you sleep enough? Why are you sleeping in the masjid? I said, brother, I'm just trying to follow the Sunnah of the Muslim, of Mustapha sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, brother, that's 1,000 years ago. We don't need to do that now. What would you think if the people came when they seen you sitting laying down in the masjid? Does that look right? I said, Akhi, listen to the words of Umar Khattab. He said, he said, let the Sunnah go forth and don't oppose it with your own opinion. Wallahi, ya ikhwan, I respect all you as my brothers. But what makes me love you and respect you more, and what should make you love me and respect me more, is that we say Allah said, His Messenger said, the Sahaba said. All the other opinion, ya ikhwan, you can take some of it or you can reject it. But when the hadith comes that you know to be authentic, and I've heard Muslims say to me, I've heard that hadith before. I've heard that hadith before. Yes, brother, that's nothing new. We've heard that hadith before. Ya ikhwan, maybe you might have heard the hadith 1,000 times in your 50 years as a man. But when is the time that you're going to follow and implement and be upon the Sunnah of Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa usalli wa usallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. A few weeks ago, brothers, as you've been following the media, there's been many very sad things that have been said about Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But some of our youth, ya ikhwan, that are better than us, and I believe the future is for Islam, and Islam is for the future. Some of the youth, they have been using this particular technology called Twitter. And on Twitter, they have put what they call 140 characters on there, and the #1 thing for 3 days in a row, ya ikhwan, was hashtag, who is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I'm challenging my brothers today, from amongst the youth, we want to start a new hashtag today, who is Mustapha, or be like Mustapha. Because it's important for us, ya ikhwan, that we use the vehicles of da'wah, the microphone and the camera and everything to explain to the people that are amongst us who Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was. And one of the first questions that I was asked from some of the non-Muslims that I know, they said, what's your take on everything? I said, there's a beautiful science in Islam called la dara wa la dira. There is no harming or reciprocating harm on anyone. And I said, this is a huge science with many ayats, many hadith, talking about not harming any innocent people. They said, oh wow, really? I said, yeah. They said, we would not have known. I said to them, well, we don't have mass media. We don't have radio stations, we don't have TV stations, ya ikhwan, but we have, ya ikhwan, word of mouth, and we have something called character. One of the non-Muslims, he came to me after and he said, I know it wasn't the Muslims, had to be some crazy people. I said, no doubt, because a Muslim would never do anything like that, ya ikhwan. A Muslim has impeccable character, as the Prophet said, I was sent, I was not sent except for to establish the beautiful character. So it is upon us, every single adult here. Brothers, if you've been having a hard time practicing the Sunnah, then talk to some of the older brothers that you know and say, look, I missed some of those classes because I was chasing the dunya. I want to sit in some of those classes. I want to learn about Mustapha sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I wish that I can go to a class where they're explaining to me the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can begin right now, ya ikhwan. If you've never seen him, you can read about him. If you've never seen him, you can read about him, ya ikhwan. Also, ya ikhwan, we find that there's been some beautiful statements, and from amongst them is the statement of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullah alayhi. We want to say, "Man radda hadith Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever rejects the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu, he is on the brink of destruction." This is how the scholars from the past understood it. And there's Muslims that have said, and I've heard them, and unfortunately some of them, they've got their PhDs in secular universities, they think that they're Shaykh al-Islam, where they have said that if the hadith, even if it is authentic, when it goes against my intellect, I will reject the hadith of the Prophet. This is what some of the new people that are coming up these days are saying this. Imagine this, ya ikhwan. Imam Ahmed, I take his position. He who rejects the hadith of the Prophet, he's on the brink of destruction. This is serious, ya ikhwan. You have to be careful, ya ikhwan, who we're learning our religion from. Also, the Prophet went on to say, Ya ayyuhan nas, inni qad taraktu fikum in tasamtum bihi falan tadillu abada kitabullah wa sunnati. وكما قسم رواه Imam Malik wa Muwatta wa Bayhaqi. The Prophet went on to say, O people, verily, I've left for you, I've given you something that if you cling on to it, you will never ever go astray. The book and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah. My brothers, the Quran, we all love it. But it was sent to one man only. There's no two men that came and brought us that book. If we want to really practice that book, then we need to know more about the man who the book was revealed to. And all the things that happened to him while he was trying to spread the message of Quran, so we can feel in our heart with the Sahaba, what they seen when he died. It was hard for them to swallow that. That even it came to a point that Allah couldn't believe it. He said he who says that Muhammad is dead, I will cut off their neck. This is what he said. Because it was hard for him to just digest this. And Abu Bakr Siddiq, being the older sheikh, he came to him and said, Omar, sit down. And as we know, Abu Bakr, his character was really easygoing, never yelled. But at this time, it came time for him to put Omar in his place and said, Omar, sit down. And Omar sat down and said, he who worships Muhammad, know the Prophet, he is dead. But he who worships Allah, know that Allah is living and he never dies. Showing that we love the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but we do not worship him, but we follow him. Stick with the Sunnah and be like Mustapha. And I want to end the with the statement of the best Muslim who came after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who had more understanding than any of the Imams, who had more taqwa than any of the Imams, who followed the Sunnah more than any of the Imams or any of the Muslims. We're talking about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he went on to say, in a very beautiful narration, he went on to say, لَسْتُ تَارِكًا شَيْئًا كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم يَأْمَنُ بِهِ إِلَّا عَمِلْتُ بِهِ وَإِنِّي لَا أَخْشَى إِلَّا تَرَكْتُ شَيْئًا مِنْ أَمْرِهِ أَنْ أَزِيرًا. I never leave off anything that the Messenger used to do, except that I implement it. Indeed, I am scared that if I leave off anything by not implementing it, that I may go astray and I may deviate from his affair. This is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Ibn Battal, one of the great scholars of Islam, commenting on this statement of Ibn Khattab, after hearing him, he went on to say, "Oh my dear brothers, this is Siddiq al-Akbar. He's scared for himself in going astray. If he only contradicts or opposes something from the affairs of the Prophet ﷺ. Therefore, what will it be in our time when the people will come to a point of rebuking their Prophet ﷺ and his commands? They are vying to contradict him. That means people are actually racing to try to have an opinion different than the Prophet ﷺ. This is what Nabatta said in his time. And to have disdain for his sunnah, that's the sunnah, why would I do that? He went on to say, we ask Allah for protection and deliverance from these evil actions. My brothers, salvation is in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we do that, if we stay upon the sunnah, and we live upon the sunnah, and we die upon the sunnah, and we call to the sunnah, and we educate the youth about the sunnah, guess what? The brothers who taught me how to pray more than 23 years ago that are in their grave right now, I believe that they're getting some reward for teaching me how to pray. Some Muslims back in those days, they told me that if you follow the sunnah, you'll be successful. And some of those brothers, they're dead. So what are we leaving as a legacy for our children? It's simple. Stick to the sunnah and be like Mustapha. This should be our understanding, that the sunnah is more important to us than anything that people bring into this religion. We should follow the sunnah with everything. The Prophet, when he woke up, he ate a certain way. He drank a certain way. He went to sleep a certain way. When he traveled, he did certain things. He said certain things. Have we spent time learning what he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said? My dear brothers, we have a great opportunity right now to give da'wah to the people in the West. And I'm challenging every brother,
every sister here, try to talk to 3 of your colleagues, or 3 of your peers, or 3 of your classmates, and just explain to them that Islam is the Sunnah, and the Sunnah is Islam, and that Islam is a peaceful religion, and that our Prophet ﷺ had many gems to offer society. From amongst the beautiful gems that he used to do is that when one of his neighbors, ladies, used to throw garbage on his head every single day as he walked through the alleyway. Did he get upset with her? Did he take retribution? Did he argue with her? Did he scold her? No, ya ikhwan, he was very patient. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And one day she didn't throw the garbage on his head. He was expecting her to, and he did. And he went and he knocked on her door. And he found out about her condition and he brought her some food. And she first thought that he was coming to do something. He said, no, you're my neighbor. You have rights on me. I have to look after you. I don't believe I want until the last day until I love for my neighbor what I love for myself. So he went and he visited his neighbor. But brothers, we have neighbors that live right beside us. Some of them for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. How we never seen who Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is. With that, هذا ما عندي وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers in Islam, my dear sisters in Islam, stay on the Sunnah and be like Mustapha sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.